Okay, it's being recorded.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
I'm recording it.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, so
That's
I
fine,
just
right,
wanted to
Hema?
get a feel for, the age group of Arohi kids. So that's why I asked that question, not to really, nothing.
Most of us, you can guess, we are all above 8.
Okay, all right, got it. Okay. So you all probably have heard about periods, right? Have you? Am I audible, or should I wear the,
No, you're audible. You're audible.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm assuming that you all have heard periods or menstruation. So can I start with that assumption, or okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, 1 minute. Avani, Shadak, Shaunak, if you want to know, if you don't know and if you want to know, you can please feel free to ask.
Yeah, so let me start with what is a period. Okay, what is a period? Girls and women typically have some bleeding every month, and it lasts for 2 to 3 days. And what happens during that time is the uterus kind of cleans itself. Uterus is a small little, you can say, a pouch or a bag where babies grow up in. It's also called the womb. Like all of us were once in the womb of our moms. And this uterus, if it's not holding a baby, it's going to clean up itself. And when it cleans it up, that whatever comes out is what we see when we wear a pad or a cloth pad or disposable, whatever. So that's what we see. It is what is in the uterus. Typically, it is the layer inside the uterus that's called the endometrial tissue, and some blood and some mucus. All this comes out, and the body prepares itself for the next few days or few weeks. So anytime there is no pregnancy, the body cleans itself. But if there is a pregnancy, if there is a baby in the womb, these periods won't happen. So are we clear? Or shall I put it in some different terms?
Got it.
Anybody wants it to be repeated in a different way? Okay, I'm going to try one more time, just in case, I've missed someone. So there is a part in the human anatomy of a female that is called the uterus, which is like a little bag. That's where babies grow. And when there is no baby in the uterus, it cleans it up. And what we see in our pads is what comes out of the uterus. Okay, so this has been happening for ages, of course, for millennia. Human beings have been genetically this kind of a body, this set of genome has been around for 150,000 years. That is 1.5 lakh years humans have been around, Homo sapiens have been around. And which means humans have been menstruating. Females of the humankind have been menstruating, have been getting periods for 150,000 years on this planet. So there is nothing new. Absolutely nothing new about periods. It is completely fine to ask questions about periods. Why do I get cramps? Why do I feel this way? Why don't boys menstruate? All those questions are totally fine. You can ask those questions, and these questions can be talked about, discussed with, There's nothing wrong. There need not be a taboo with menstruation. The fact that there are so many human beings means people have been menstruating, for ages. This shows that, uterus has been functioning this way for ages. So there is nothing new and nothing wrong. The only thing that is new in the recent times is that we have been told that, oh, don't talk about it. Shh, use whisper. You see the ads on television where they say, shh, hush, hush. This is the new thing. Do you see what I mean? This is a phenomenon. Periods, menstruation has been a phenomenon for ages. It's very, very, very old. So there is nothing new. The taboo associated with menstruation is new. And also the disposables that have come into being with menstruation is new. Imagine if all these ancestors that we have had, if they used disposable pads, what would have happened? Let's do a simple math. So how many people would be there in your neighborhood? Let's say Aparna. How many, do you live in an apartment complex?
No.
No.
We
Okay.
live in a home.
Okay, is there anybody that lives in an apartment complex?
Yeah, I do live.
Okay, how many women are likely to be there?
100 somewhere.
Okay, let's say 100. That's a good number to start with. And let's say on an average, this 100 women, each woman uses 10 pads per month. So that makes it 100 times 10 pads every month. That is 1,000 pads a month. And now there are 12 months in a year. So 1,000 times 12, 12,000 pads going into the garbage bin every year from just your apartment building. Now, there are so many apartment buildings in your city and in all these cities. And what about, if you just keep expanding that circle, let's say we talk about India. India has like 360 million women or approximately who are menstruating. That means in the age group of, let's say, 12 to 43, 44, there are 365 million women. 1 million is thousands. So if you have a paper and pencil, I would like you to just write this number and just see how big it is. 365, follow it with 3 zeros and another 3 zeros. So that is 365 million women in India alone who are menstruating. And this data is actually old because we don't have, census board doesn't release data very often. They take 10 years to release data. I don't know if it is 10 years or 15 years, but the last data that I looked up said 365 million, which is a very big number. So this 365 million people, let's say, use 10 pads a month, and then let's multiply that by 12. This is a humongous number. And I heard a talk recently on YouTube that said India discards 40 billion pads. Billion. Not even million. A billion is 1,000 million. So 40 billion is 40 followed by 9 zeros. So we are throwing away so many billion pads every year. And what do you think happens when you throw away a disposable pad? Does anybody want to think about it or talk about it, have anything to say?
After this, it's gonna spoil the environment.
That is Advay. Okay. Spoil the environment. How do you say it'll spoil the environment? Of course, it spoils the environment, but I want to understand what you mean when you say that.
I mean that whenever I say spoiling the environment, if you're taking waste and throwing, because just like you have seen a recent video, even I had seen, they all throw it to rivers, and after it is thrown to the rivers, that used pads are now waste and it is not edible. So the animals or the bacteria in the river is going to die. Waste of environment. We can't use the water for any purpose because it's so dirty. So
Yeah,
whatever touches that is also waste.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, so this is a very big problem because these disposable sanitary napkins or sanitary pads are mostly plastic. 90% or more is plastic. And to get that beautiful white look, they use all kinds of chemical, bleach, dioxins, all kinds of stuff. And they're not even, the companies that make these pads are not even legally, as you know, there is no legal implication where there should be document listing what they are using. Many of the things that go into the pads are not even listed because our law is not strict, so we don't even know many things that go into the pads. The thing we can say for certain is these pads are not decomposable. What is meant by decomposable?
Non-biodegradable.
Non-degradable. So can you give me an example as to what is degradable? Some degradable stuff, some biodegradable stuff. Cloth, leaves, flowers, like your food. If you eat,
Cloth.
yeah, if you're eating something and you don't want that food, if you throw that food into the soil, tomorrow when you come back or in a few days, that food would have disintegrated, decomposed, biodegraded into the soil. But when you throw away a plastic bag, what happens? When you throw away something plastic, have you seen what happens to that?
Whenever
It just
is
remains.
Yes, it just remains.
It doesn't compost. It will
No,
take
it doesn't
like
compost. Yeah. Yeah. Advay wanted to say something.
it will take a lot of time to compost it, like 100 years, like huge time. It won't
Yes.
happen like just like a second, like your
Yes.
orange peels. So
Yes.
whenever it takes time, that at that time the soil will be bad. The
It
soil is
never
going to be so bad.
Plastic right. Never comes. Yeah. So it can never become part of the soil. Never. And by never, we're saying, you know, some of these companies are saying a plastic, plastic thing or this disposable pads take 500 to 800 years. Actually, we don't know. These numbers are so big. Who has lived for 500 years? Who has lived for 800 years to know that it'll decompose after that period? No, nobody knows. Anyway, these numbers are so big that if we leave something in the soil for that long, that means that soil is not available for other things, like for a plant to grow or for an animal to live in. Like imagine, I told you, right? Human beings have been around for 150,000 years. And how many generations of human beings would have lived in all these years? Many, 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 right? Big number, very big number. And if all our grandmothers, great-grandmothers, great-great-grandmothers, all these women in the ancestral chain, if they had used disposable pads, we would all be swimming in an ocean of garbage. Literally. because it takes that long to decompose, we would be sitting on piles of garbage. You probably would have come across garbage dumps in your cities, landfills. Have you? Avani, have you seen places where lots of garbage gets dumped, like landfills?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. A lot of times they set fire, they incinerate the garbage. And when plastic garbage is burned, there is a lot of things that get into the air, mixed with the air, that we are not supposed to breathe. And that causes a lot of health risk. Do you know of anything like this? Have you heard this term, incineration? Burning garbage? There are
Yes,
machines called.
I have.
There are, okay, Sumed. Yeah, what
Yes.
have you heard?
That there's this like in a factory somewhere, there's like a huge container, like a huge black container in which they stuff all the garbage in, and then they let everything on fire in that small space. So like all the gas and the smoke just goes up into the air after
Yes.
that.
And that smoke is going to get mixed with the air and then floats away to the rest of the world. And you know, this is not the only factory or landfill that is burning garbage. There is garbage burnt everywhere. So it is going to affect everybody. So all our actions are affecting all of us. See, okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what led me to start making cloth bags. But before that, I want to also touch upon there is this aspect of, somebody mentioned the word dirty. And I have heard this word in the context of menstruation a lot. The fluids that come out of our body has been a part of us, right? So it's not dirty. It was a part of us. Why should it be dirty? Why can't we clean it up? It's okay to clean it up. There's nothing dirty about it. Like how we wipe our noses. It's okay because we get mucus sometimes when we have cold and cough. We wipe ourselves. Similarly, this is something that comes out of the body, and it's a very natural thing. It is absolutely necessary for healthy living to be menstruating for a woman. So there is nothing unnatural, artificial, or dirty about it. And people have never thought of it this way until very recently. So if you have some hesitation about this, please talk to somebody. I know, because you know, this has been put into our heads, especially by the TV commercials, that this is a dirty thing that you don't want to touch. If that is the way, then life gets very difficult. Now, if we think of ourselves, a part of ourselves, as dirty, then we won't be able to accept ourselves as a whole. You know, there is this significant part of every woman that we have to accept and respect. If we think it is dirty, we won't be able to respect ourselves completely.
We clean our potty too.
Exactly. Who was that?
Preeti.
Awesome. Absolutely. I didn't know, you know, if somebody would bring it up, or should I? I'm really glad you mentioned that. Yeah, absolutely. We do it. So, and we've been doing it for ages. From the time we are 2 or 3, we've been doing it. So there is nothing wrong about it, and only when you don't do it, it's not okay. Does anybody else want to talk about this dirty aspect of this?
Yeah.
Please.
Hema, would you like to share, with all these things, what is that inspired you to bring in change?
Yeah, so I have always been, for the last 9 years or so, I've been living in India. And before that, we used to live in the US, in California. We lived in the US for 13 years. And one thing that really, really bothered me about the US was the amount of garbage that people were producing. And every week, we could put out garbage in our every household had a garbage bin, and the garbage bin was taller than me. I'm not a very tall person, I'm only 4'8", I'm not even 5, but the garbage bin was taller than me, and every household will put out that much garbage. So that really disturbed me. How can somebody produce so much garbage, and we don't have that kind of a space on earth to keep producing garbage? So I started reading up about garbage and talking to people there about menstruation, sustainable menstruation. This is back in 2010. Probably most of you weren't even born then. Yeah, so I have been thinking and talking actively about garbage because, see, I strongly believe that it's not, the world is not just for us, it's for everybody else. We cannot just throw away something and then think that, it's okay, I can afford to do that. It's not the world. There is a Native American saying that says, the world, this planet is not alone. It's not something that I've got from my ancestors. It's not something that we have inherited, but it's a loan that we have borrowed from the next generations. See, if we think of something as inheritance, no, then we think we are entitled to it. Do you understand entitlement?
I think no.
No. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
if I would say I'm entitled to something if I think I have the right to do it. When I throw away something and litter up a place, if I think, hey, I'm rich, I'm this and that, I can do it, and what's the big deal? Then there is a sense of entitlement in it. I think I have the right to it. And I can feel that way only if I think this planet has been passed on to me. But if I change my perspective to think that, hey, this planet has not been given to me by my ancestors, it is a loan that I have borrowed from all of you, younger generation, then I'll be careful. I want to repay the loan, maybe with interest. No loan ever goes unpaid. We have to pay back the loan. Similarly, if I consider the planet as a loan that I have borrowed from children like you, then I'll be more responsible. So you guys are very young. But I talk to my people of my generation. I'm soon going to be 50. So I talk to my generation people and say, hey, this is a loan we've borrowed from these children. We have to, keep it clean and return it to them. Anyway, so I've been very passionate about garbage and keeping the place reasonably clean and passing it on to the next generation. And so cloth pads have been one of my passions. And recently, because of Corona, since kids are at home, so we live in a village near 100 odd kilometers from Chennai. And there, since kids were at home, I got together with a few teenage kids, and they wanted to make cloth bags and start using themselves. And then I ran into some difficulties when we wanted to scale it up, because the government was giving out free disposable pads at government schools. So many people didn't want to take up cloth pads. And also, the pads that are sold in the rural areas are very, very cheap, dirt cheap compared to what you get here. And the quality is also very, very bad. Although it is horrible in every way, they have switched to disposable pads, and it is taking me a very long time to create this awareness in the rural areas. And I find people in the cities more aware of the garbage issues. So I try to balance myself between talking with rural people and also city people. um, yeah, so that's where I am. And I recently thought, because I have to reach the city people, if I have a brand where we make pads and market it in the city, and also have a website, uh, then it'll be better. So I started this initiative called Konnai. Konnai is named after, it's a Tamil word, it's named after a tree, a beautiful tree. Um, and yeah, so we have some young people, 18-year-old, he's a boy who just recently finished his he was also homeschooled, I helped him. He finished his 12th and he's now making all these cloth pads. We also make baby products, cloth diapers and all that. So we provide some very employment for a very tiny group of youth and women in our village. And I do most of this campaign work, talking to people and spreading the word around. So that's where I am at. And if you have some questions about this initiative, please go on.
Hema, can you just share the details about the cloth pad? How do you
Yeah.
do it and what it is all about?
Okay, yeah, I have given my blog address. I actually have a website for this initiative. I have shared that with Leela, and
Yes,
I
yes.
also write a blog where I put some of the.
I have
so
shared both your blog and the konai.in in the announcements. Priti,
Okay.
you can check the website.
Yeah, so we have all the details covered in the website, and we can also take online orders. And the difficulty that I run into with cloth pads, with sustainable menstruation is, see, people of my generation have moved, switched to disposables, like let's say 10 years ago. So when they are bringing up their children, they're not comfortable introducing anything other than disposable to their children. And it is very hard for people of my generation to get convinced at this point. They're like, no, I know what I'm doing, and I'm comfortable where I am. So I run into that also. But I find younger people much more open to new. I'm not saying all people of my age are not open, please don't get me wrong, but I find the open-mindedness to be more common with younger people. So I'm thinking that, if you Arohi kids understand how serious of an issue, environmental issue this is, then you guys, maybe wherever you are, start talking slowly, break the silence. There is no taboo, because after all, this is going to be your world. I'll be gone in 20 years or whatever, 30 years, I don't know. But you will be living on this planet for much longer than I would. So you want a better planet. So it's also your responsibility. Take it up. Talk to people.
So,
No?
Hema, one thing I really want to understand. So, with this issue of sanitary pads being disposable, those cups have also started coming in.
Yes.
And with that, there is a lot of awareness, and a lot of people have started understanding that disposables are not good, and
Yeah.
it is spoiling the environment. So, why is it that the whole of the system is not changing? Why is it that the government and these companies who are producing these, manufacturing these, why nothing is happening on that front?
Oh, very good question. There's a lot of money. very simple. There is tons of subsidies operating. Otherwise, there is no way a pad could be as cheap as 5 rupees or 4 rupees. It's impossible to make something for that little money. There is subsidies operating at a very, very, very big level. And actually, I have been approached by some companies saying, why do you want to do this? You can make more money if you make disposables. We can set up the unit for you. It's very lucrative business. So it's all about money. There is nobody cares about the environment. They want to make a quick buck and run away. You probably are familiar with this Pad Man. There is a Pad Man, right? Movie.
Yes.
Pad Man. So that Pad Man is also, he's now very popular, right? And does he know what is the environmental impact of his project? He's made so many people switch to pads, but at what cost? And these disposable pads are recurring expenses. Every month you have to spend so much, and all that money that goes into the pads ultimately end up in the garbage. So is that a good thing to be asking people to be doing? So there is a lot of business and profit motive behind this. And there is very little motive behind a cloth pad kind of initiative. Very little money to be made if you want to keep your profits low. So when I started this venture, I thought, you know what, we live on a farm. When we moved to India 9 years ago, we bought a small piece of land. We wanted to get into organic farming. We homeschooled our kids. Our kids are now older, 18 and 15. My son is Abhinav. He's 18. He has now moved out and he lives in Oroville. He makes music. He does some small films. And my daughter Aparna is 15. So why I brought this up is our expenses are very low. When we live in a place like a small village like ours, there is not much expenses. We hardly spend 10,000 rupees a month. So I thought, I don't need to make any more money in my life. I'm happy to be where I am, doing what I am. I don't need more money. So if I start this venture and help a few people in the village make a little bit of money, and also create this awareness in the young minds, especially about the garbage problem, I'm very happy if I can do that. And there are ventures already making cloth pads, but most of them are making organic pads, which means they are very expensive. I have myself bought those for my daughter from EcoFem. Very nice, very good pads, but very expensive. 3 times or 2.5 times the price of ours. Just because it is expensive to make things like these, especially if you want to go organic. So I thought, if I have to reach more people, then I don't want to be doing organic. I want to keep it as reasonable as reasonably priced, so that I can reach more people. And so it's a not-for-profit venture, basically.
Yeah. Would you like to share some of your skills that helped you to start up this venture? And how do we, even to bring a change in society, what are the skills that you think we need? And your learning journey, Hema?
Okay. Yeah. I'm basically a software engineer. I have worked in the software industry a very long time ago. I quit in 2003. That was when my first child was born. So I'm basically a software engineer. After my son was born, I did a few things, community work in the US. And then when we moved to India, I told you guys that I bought a piece of land. So I've been growing a forest. So I planted with my family, planted a lot of trees, thousands of trees. So we're into reforestation, some amount of organic crops, vegetables and fruit. We learned a bunch of the methods, organic methods, and because we didn't know anything about agriculture, and we are also into rainwater harvesting, that kind of stuff. And yeah, another thing that affected us deeply was global warming. So we wanted to do something in those lines, something that fit in with the rest of the picture. Then when I wanted to start this venture, because I already had a rapport with local villagers, I could help them learn stitching. I taught stitching for some people, and help them learn a little bit of English and some accounting. And I built the website for this project. I didn't know anything about web development, so I learned that. What else? Basically, what I have seen is any little thing that you do in your life, that comes in handy later. Like 18 years ago, when my child was born, this was in California, I didn't want to use those Huggies, and I thought, I should connect with some people that were using cloth diapers, and I made some cloth diapers at home. This was in 2003. And after that, I completely forgot about cloth diapers. Suddenly now, that skill is coming in handy. Now I know how it is to make a cloth diaper. Of course, I watched some YouTube videos, but yeah, any little thing that you do with your hands stays with you, and you can just build on top of that. That's very interesting.
Hema, a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you and your husband shifted to India and shifted to the countryside, bought a piece of land. I
Yeah.
think that's a kind of step that we don't see that often. People who come back from US, they might invest into different properties and all that stuff, but this is a different change of lifestyle completely.
Yeah.
So what prompted this kind of decision? Like, do you and your husband share similar kind of ideology when it comes to eco-friendliness?
Okay. I mentioned global warming earlier. So this was always lurking in the back of our heads, that, what are we doing to this planet? We're constantly making money, we're educating our children, but looks like we're heading for a big collapse. But we unfortunately couldn't do anything about it for very long. And in 2011, suddenly we decided that, our son was 7 years at that time, and he was very unhappy going to school in California. So we decided to pull him out of school and keep him at home. Then I met with a lot of homeschooling families that gave me the confidence that, hey, we can also do it. It's okay. And then suddenly we felt totally liberated. There was nothing that was tying us up to one particular place. And fortunately for us, my husband was also not interested in making money. He said, Hema, would it be okay if I don't make money anymore every month? So I said, yeah, that's fine, but we can't live in the US anymore. Let's move back to India. So that's how it started. Homeschooling was the key to it, because there was nothing that was like, we have to be in a certain place. No, we can be pretty much anywhere. And those days we didn't
And
have
we
all
have
this.
to pay a certain fees.
What is that?
And we have to pay a certain fees.
Yes, exactly. So that brought our expenses significantly down. So we didn't need any monthly income. And so a lot of our worries were slowly, evaporating. We were like, maybe this is all possible. So, but we didn't have any skill whatsoever. We just knew a little bit of software programming, that's all. And my husband didn't want to do software programming after moving to India. So we started from an absolutely clean board. When we landed in India, we had no idea, but we knew what we didn't want to do, like not live in any big city, not send kids to school, not go to work. We wanted to figure things out on our own. So that's all. It was a very modest beginning. for lack of skills.
Thanks for sharing, Hema. That's actually pretty inspiring, taking such a big decision in life and changing everything around yourself, that's really inspiring. Thanks for sharing.
Here, would you like to share a little about it? Sorry if somebody was asking any question. Yeah, would you like to little share about your childhood learning journey? Like what a kind of a kid you were, and how were you learning? What are the different skills that you had learned in your childhood that became handy as you started reliving your life again?
Yeah. My childhood was in Tirchi, as a very small town in Tamil Nadu. And we had somebody, like Aparna said, they live in an independent house. So we lived in an independent house. This was in 80s. And we had many trees around the house, some flower plants, and some little bit of vegetables. And I always enjoyed the evening 1 hour or something that I have spent most of the days with my dad. And that always had a nice association in my head with plants mainly. So that association was so green in my head that when I started living on the land, those moments used to flash in front of my eyes. Hey, I used to do that with Appa. I used to do this with Appa, and that kind of stuff, Although I didn't have any proper agricultural background per se, I had some little bit of gardening background that connected me with plants and soil. So that was one thing. And the next thing was, I don't know, is Aditi here? No, right? Aditi is the only one who has seen me. I'm a pretty tiny person. I'm only 4'8". But, my dad always said that you don't have to be any more different than you are to feel good and confident about yourself. So I never felt that I'm this tiny person. I always feel just normal. I can drive. I used to drive in the US. I've done pretty much everything that normal, let's say 5 feet 5 inches lady would do. Just pretty much anything. And I work on the farm. I use heavy tools. Yeah, anything. I never felt that I'm tiny, small, that I'm incapable. I could be incapable of that. When I stand next to this tall person, I get intimidated. No, never. I don't know why, but probably because of my dad, I'm guessing. What else?
Yeah, I was just trying to understand what made you to think that a tiny person cannot do they are incapable or they cannot do
A lot of people think so, right? A lot of people, when they are small, they think that they are not. How do I say? Their self-image gets affected when they are too fat or too thin or too short or too tall. All these things. Any time you are outside the bell curve, people have some self-image issues, and I think it helps if somebody talks to them in their childhood, like how my dad talked to me. Like, people can be of all shapes and sizes and colors and this and that, and yet be completely at peace with themselves. Totally be fine, because I cannot change my height. I cannot change this or that. And if I'm totally fine with myself, I can be a happy person.
That's a wonderful message, Hema.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone is asking something.
Hema, do you want to share something about your home learning journey with the kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We live on a farm for the last, we live in the rural areas for the last 9 years. So there is a lot of snakes, and it's very important to know, to be able to identify snakes very rapidly. And that's a very, very, very useful skill to have. And I was really, really dead against this because I just didn't like snakes initially. But my kids were so fascinated about snakes. And from the very beginning, I never stopped my kids from doing anything. Just that's how I was from the beginning. And so there was a period when my kids got totally into snakes. A few months, they would just be studying snakes, 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 and they'll make toys, they'll make games, they'll make tools that will help them understand snakes in a very deep level. And so that brought my level of anxiety and fear slowly down. Now I can be at home. We live on a 5-acre farm, and I've lived in that farm all alone. We're surrounded by mountains, nobody there in that vicinity, and I've been all at home, all alone at home in the farm for 15 days. And it was because of the things I've learned from my children that I can be confident. If there is a snake, I can identify, and I don't need to panic. It's okay. And yeah, so just this thing could have been curbed in the bud if I had been harsh with my kids. When they were 2-3-year-olds, they used to play in the soil, and the things that they loved the most was snails. And I just hated snails as a small kid because of the slime they produce. They leave a slimy trail, and that thing used to disgust me. And that was probably because my parents put that in my head. Probably, I'm guessing, because my parents didn't like anything about soil and all that. And I was the first kid, so they wouldn't let me play in the soil. So there was some idea in my head that those are dirty things. But for some reason, when my child was only 1 year old, when he handled the snails, I thought, hey, why should I stop him? It seems like a very harmless thing, and the child is deriving so much happiness. Why should I stop him? So I would just turn away because I couldn't look at it. I would turn away and let him play because it was anyway not dangerous. So, and after a couple of years of this, they thought that there is something strange about Amma's behavior when I'm with snails. So they would call me and say, hold the snail. And that's when I would be like, no, I don't want to touch it. I have to work in the kitchen or this or that. I'll make up some excuse. Then they decided, okay, today you have to hold the snail, Amma. Then they put it on my head and I saw the slime. I was squirming. Then I thought, okay, maybe it's okay. Slowly I can get used to it. Then that disgust in me slowly, very slowly went away. And that was the thing that helped them establish a very, very deep connection with all living beings, not just snails, not just snakes, plants, trees, animals, birds, all kinds. They don't have any kind of disgust. They can pick up a toad and the toad would pee on them. They won't be disgusted with that. And a snake has pooped on them. They don't get disgusted with that. It's after all a snake. It's saying that don't pick me up. That's all, Amma. And these things have been a tremendous learning experience for me. So homeschooling is not just about them learning, we educating them. It's two ways. But it starts with this open-mindedness that I didn't have earlier. And slowly, they educate us and we also slowly open up.
Awesome, Hema.
Yeah,
Very true. You said it is a two-way learning, and
yeah, absolutely.
completely agree with you.
Yeah. Avani, have you seen snakes ever?
Yeah, at Arohi.
Oh, what kind of snakes?
I forgot its names.
Not venomous, right? Just harmless snakes?
No,
We do have
also
I've seen-
venomous.
Oh.
Also venomous.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, it's not a good idea to go close to venomous snakes, and it's a good idea to know what they are, which one is venomous, which one is not venomous. Yeah.
Yeah, you had better told this when I was young, when I was going to Arohi. I had just seen a cobra and I was like, Aditya auntie, look at here, there's a snake.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids get very excited, and then, it can get dangerous also. So, yeah, we have to draw the line. When it is venomous, we don't want to get close to them. Or we have even killed snakes. So, my kids have rescued snakes on countless occasions, but they have also killed venomous snakes that have come really close to our house on a few occasions. So, you have to take the call and be able to do that for our safety. Yeah.
Yeah, Hema, we do have at Arohi
Yeah.
venomous all kinds of all the 5 venomous snakes which are in India,
Right.
and we have been co-living with them. And we also do safety training where we do take care of safety, whether
Yes.
it is venomous or non-venomous. The first thing is safety. If they are also equally scared as us. So if we
Exactly.
give them the space, they just move away.
Exactly.
So that is what we definitely follow, and we do observe the snake, its movement, and understand, try to read about them, what is its characteristics. So it helps us to know about them, and this is how we have been doing the safety trainings also in many times at campus. And yeah, we do co-live together.
Okay. Great. Very nice.
Yeah.
Aparna, do you have any question?
No.
Okay. So can we go back to the cloth pads a little bit? Is that
Yeah.
okay, Leela?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we have 4 minutes, Hema. So if you
Uh,
whatever you want to share, the
okay.
message, what you want to give, you can definitely give.
Okay.
Y-
There's a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, this all sometimes even though you move away from snakes, some snakes still come near you.
Huh.
Who's that?
Ruhi.
Hi, Rohi. Yeah, maybe we can read little more about the snakes.
Yeah.
When would they come close? What is that causing them to come close? Little about their characteristics, and then we can understand about the snakes.
Hmm.
Yeah, we will talk more about it at campus.
Okay, so I want to go back to the cloth pad thing just for a teeny bit. So when you use a cloth, when you use a disposable, you see blood in the pad, and then you wrap it up in a newspaper or something and throw it away. But when you use a cloth pad, you put it in a bucket with some water, let it soak, let all the blood in it come out, and then wash it with a little bit of soap and rinse it again, and then hang it to dry. So when you see the blood, it's just a natural thing, normal thing. When you have a cut in your body anywhere, when you fall, you get bruised, there's blood in us, right? This, I know a lot of people just panic or freak out when they see blood, but there is no reason to freak out. It's a part of the natural process. So once you understand that this has been happening for ages, you'll be okay with it. Hey, I'm not the first one to get blood from my body. No, you're not the first one. The millions and millions of people menstruate. It's okay. So just if you're panicking about that, if you ever feel uncomfortable, talk to somebody and also tell yourself it's okay. It has been happening for ages to all women, and it is okay. Accept yourself, love yourself. It's okay. Good that you're menstruating. Good you're having a good, healthy period. Because without that, women cannot be healthy. There is a lot of things that go wrong if your hormonal system is not working properly. Okay, so I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, why do we get cramps during
Oh,
menstruation?
actually, that's a very good question. I understand now. I used to get cramps a lot. And my daughter, and I've seen many people never get any cramps. And if you use a lot of your body muscles constantly, then you shouldn't be getting cramps. But if you're sedentary a lot, like in sitting in schools, then you're not using a lot of your muscles. And our bodies are not trained, evolutionarily speaking, for this 150,000 years that human beings have lived on this planet. We've never been a sitting, species. We've always been walking, climbing, running, hunting, chasing, swimming, all that stuff. We've never spent 8 hours of our life sitting in a place. So that sedentary thing has caused a lot of muscles to go into atrophy. So if you can bring about some changes in your lifestyle where there is a lot of movement, many kinds of movement, not just one kind, many kinds of movement that involve many body muscles, then these cramps shouldn't happen at all.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Because I have seen a lot of different types of cramps in my own body in the years of time. So now I get the answer very clearly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hema. Thanks a lot
Thank
for
you.
sharing your journey and sharing about giving us little more, bringing us to awareness about the green to red sustainable menstruation also. Yeah, it's an amazing initiative what you have started, and
Thank you.
Yeah.
So please visit our website, and if there is any interest, to order the pads or something, please do so. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Hema.
Yeah,
That
anyone
was
wants to give
amazing.
any message to Hema, you can share.
We have campus care here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Achalesh.
I have also shared my blog address with Leela. I write some homeschooling related articles in it.
Yes.
Not very frequently, but yeah. I've been writing for 10 plus years.
Yeah. Yes, Hema, I have already shared. It's in the announcements channel. Yeah, anyone more interested in getting into this initiative or connecting with Hema to know about it, we can always connect with Hema.
Sure.
Yep. Sure.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you, Hema.
Thank you.
It was an amazing set.
Thank you, Hema.
Thank you. Thanks
so
everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.